Welcome back to the Morning Grind. This is Dean stepping in once again for Stevie. Stevie, of course, is busy knocking out his NASCAR content. If you guys want his NASCAR content, you know where to go for that on RotoGrinders.com. Today, we're going to do another one of our DFS origin stories. Of course, not a lot of the major sports going down just yet. They are around the corner, hypothetically, but we're talking MMA, we're talking golf later on in the week. Hopefully, you guys smashed over the weekend. That said, we're going to bring in one of the greatest personalities in all of DFS, if I may say so myself. It's Paul Errington. Nobody knows him as Paul Errington. It's Boggslite. What's going on, Boggs?
Not much. Hanging in there.
Boggs, does anybody call you Paul? Maybe family members?
Yeah.
I never think of you as Paul. I pull up your Twitter and I'm like, that's right. His name is Paul. I forgot. How's life been treating you? I pulled up your RotoGrinders member page here, and you are dabbling to some degree in the NASCAR and streets. You're dabbling a little bit in KBO, it looks like, but of course, since then, I guess NHL a few months ago. But
I dabbled in KBO. Played one night, opening night, and then watched some of these guys' swings, and man, it was tough. Plus, you got to factor in the time. It's just brutal for me. I'm out here on the West Coast. So the first day I was like, well, 10 o'clock start time, PM, I can make that work. And I got all excited about it. Then they didn't release the lineups. And then all these guys have the same name. And it's just, it was rough. And then finally I didn't realize, it's opening day. So that's why it starts at a reasonable time.
Yeah.
I can't do that at 3 a.m.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, wait a second, 10 o'clock. Well, what did this happen? But yeah, opening day was a different time for sure. Otherwise, you're getting it, 4:30, 5:30, depending on East Coast time. Of course, you're out there on the West Coast, the best coast, out there in Cali. By the way, let's talk about this now since you brought it up, because in one of your tweets, I like to go through your Twitter box, and of course, we're going to go through your DFS origin story and all that. But one of your tweets, you always talk about Joey Votto, and it drives you nuts. Guys like Joey Votto, who has 2 strikes, you choke up, you want to get a single, work a blooper or something like that, make contact. As opposed to striking out, you like the Ricky Bobby style, all or nothing, bang out a homer or nothing. But you must have tilt so much of those KBO players. A lot of those guys looking for the Baltimore chops, or just kind of slap at the right field. It must have drove you nuts watching them play.
Oh, I mean, God, it's some of these guys I haven't seen such worse swings on TV than Little League World Series. But I mean, it was exciting. I know people are having success with it and having fun with it. Wish I had the opportunity, to play more of it, but it just didn't work out for me with the time.
Yeah, your tweet, I pulled it up right now. I don't watch many Pirates games for obvious reasons, just to shout the Pirates for no particular reason. This is a few years ago. They kind of dates it. But when did Corey Dickerson start wasting at bats by choking up with 2 strikes like Joey Votto? You're facing Matt Harvey, swing for the fences, chicks dig the long ball. And yeah, so is Joey Votto one of your least favorite players in baseball because he likes to choke over the bat with 2 strikes?
No, I just, and I don't have a problem with not wanting to strike out and making contact. But it's just completely altering your swing like that. It just looks ugly too. And so I don't know, not a big fan of that approach, but hey, those guys are in the bigs and I'm not. So what do I know?
Yeah. So you played baseball when you were younger. I know you played high school. You played college ball as well, I believe, maybe? You tell me.
Yeah, I played 1 year college. Actually, ironically, sadly, junior college under Coach Altabelli, the coach that passed away with Kobe Bryant.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He was my last coach. So, yeah, it was a pretty sad situation there. But I ended up getting hurt and wanted to move on and get the real college experience, had good grades. So,
you went to Arizona State, right? Didn't you go to one of those? I feel like you did.
Arizona, yeah.
Which is the one that's notorious for partying?
Well, they both are.
Which one did Gronk go to?
He went to U of A.
Okay. Did you guys cross paths, or you're a little bit older?
No, his last year there was my first year there, and I think he was injured most of the time. I don't really remember him. I don't even know if he played.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. He had like a side job as a bouncer at this place. This not bar, but it was like this restaurant, this Asian restaurant. So I, talked to him a couple times, but
the restaurant needs a bouncer.
Yeah, it was one of those places where you go for sake bongs at later in the evening. So I guess they, I don't know, needed to card people before going in.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not aware of a restaurant eating a bouncer, but I suppose sure, why not? Were his brothers lurking around there too? Would you? I mean, I don't know how big the campus is, and if you would kind of wander into these guys. Was Gronk then, or not really?
Oh yeah, well yeah. I mean, he was popular because everyone knew he was going to go to the NFL. I don't think anyone really anticipated him having as much success, but yeah, he was definitely a well-known guy, and I never partied with him, but or anything, but yeah, he was definitely well-known on campus.
What did you hurt? You said you hurt yourself and you couldn't recover from it.
It was just a shoulder injury. I didn't ever get to the part where I couldn't recover, but at that point, I just made a choice, step away. It was my labrum, so could have probably recovered from it, but a couple years or gotten surgery, but it just was at that point where it's time to move on for me.
What did you play? What position?
Third base.
Hot corner. Look at you. Give me your comp. Give me your MLB comp.
I don't know.
Definitely not Joey Votto.
I batted left-handed, threw right-handed.
How does that work? Explain that.
It was just growing up. My dad said the first time I ever picked up a baseball bat, picked it up left-handed, and just kind of came natural to me. Swing. I have the worst right-handed swing. Can't become a switch hitter. Could never do that. It was just one of those things. And it actually is good for you. It gives you more opportunities because you can play every position and still, back in the day, scouts and everything, still like a left-handed bat. But I don't know. I used to think my comp back in the day was something like Eric Chavez because he is a left-handed swing.
And he played third base as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who was there? Was there a batting stance you emulated when you were younger?
Not necessarily. Todd Helton, maybe. I kind of had a swing like him for a while and then tinkered with it, probably too much, throughout my career. But yeah, it's maybe something like a Todd Helton.
Are you born and raised in Cali?
Yep.
Where at in Cali specifically, more or less? At Orange County?
The Orange County, yeah.
What's it like growing up in Orange County?
It's nice, I can't complain. But a little bit of a bubble, so to speak, in terms socially, but great place to live and still living out here. Don't ever want to live anywhere else.
Does the TV show The OC, does it properly encapsulate what it's like growing up and going to high school? Or
no, I don't even really remember that show, but I could probably say no.
I didn't watch The OC. I don't know. I didn't watch it either. But the Beverly Hills 90210, I think that was the OC. Isn't the Beverly Hills the OC? I believe it is. Maybe?
No, it's LA.
Oh, okay. I thought, yeah. Okay, OC is more like Anaheim, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hey, what's up? The NHL starting up again, Boggs, and everybody gets to play except for all the California teams. What's up with that?
Well, they suck. That's why. But yeah, I'm kind of glad. The Ducks. That's my team. They really wouldn't have a chance this year. I like what they're doing, but it's been a kind of meteoric fall from grace for that team. Injuries and guys getting older and whatnot, but it's good for them. Hopefully, they can win the draft lottery and get a good young prospect to come up and kind of maybe change things quicker, sooner rather than later.
Boggs, we got 24 teams in the NHL playoffs. NHL is much different than other sports. You're more of an expert than I am, but I can just tell peripherally. And obviously, just from last year, we saw Tampa Bay was like one of the greatest seasons of all time. They got swept in the first round. Anything can happen in NHL. You get a hot goalie, it stands on his head, and yada, yada, yada. The best teams are knocked out. Give me a live dog. Give me a team. I'm not going to try to manipulate you into saying the Panthers, but are the Panthers live? My Panthers? They have a shot?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's especially, at this point, you just don't know which team is going to be hot. But kind of like with baseball, you get these teams that do go hot going into the playoffs, and they can make some serious runs. You saw with the Kings when they won their first Stanley Cup way back in the day. They were barely snuck in the playoffs, but they were hot and just rode that all the way to the Cup. But the Panthers, they've been kind of on the brink for quite some time, and it's kind of good that some of these teams that were kind of bubble teams are now going to be in the playoffs, because there was a really tight race in both conferences before everything shut down, and it would have been a bummer just to say, okay, whoever's in is in. But it's good to see a couple of these teams get a chance to play in, and anything can happen from there.
I think I saw that Vegas had to pay, like any team that made the playoffs, they had to pay out, if the 22nd team or the 20th team, like, are they going to make the playoffs? Yes, they made the playoffs. Is that what happened there? Can you confirm
I
that?
don't
You know
really
what I'm talking
know.
about?
I haven't really ventured into prop bets. Haven't been to Vegas since they
Yeah.
outlawed DFS. So used to go there all the time. Never really did the prop bets, but you would think they would pay it off because technically it's playoffs. But I've lost a bet way back in the day. I think it was when Lady Gaga sang the national anthem, and
The length of time for how long she sings for?
the particular site I bet on, I got it wrong. I think I was over, and they said it was under. And so from then on, I just said, screw these, sports books. I'm not going to, mess around with these.
Joe West must have been on the clock or something like that, holding the clicker, and he started it too late or he started it too early, depending on who's going to win. Who's going to win? Give me the winner as far as the NHL playoffs this year.
I still like Tampa Bay. The Leafs are, interesting because it all comes down to the teams that can stay healthy. But all these guys, some of them had injuries with Stamkos. He was kind of banged up. But these guys are supposedly healthy, so you gotta like Tampa Bay. They probably were my pick. Can't remember to start the year, but they're just going to be a force year after year with the core of guys they have.
Co-favorites right now, according to the DK Sportsbook, they're plus 650 along with Boston. You mentioned Toronto, 29-1.
Yeah, it's which one of those things where if you get hot, then you can ride your best players, and they've got the talent. They don't necessarily have depth, but
Matthews, that's one of their young players, right?
Yeah, they got Matthews, they got Marner, they got a lot of good guys, Nylander. But Tampa Bay, it's just they're just a force to be reckoned with. They're deep throughout the lineup, and they've got some serious studs. So, and obviously a really good goalie. So that'd be my pick. But I wouldn't hesitate to tell anyone just get some value with those guys because anything can happen. We saw it last year. They got bounced from the first round by Columbus.
What was you were mentioning college? What was your major in college?
Well, I initially wanted to become a sports agent, so I was going to become law. So I graduated with a political science degree, but quickly soon throughout my college career, realized that I didn't want to riddle myself with debt. And, you had guys in the sports industry after a couple internships that guys with law degrees were taking unpaid internships. So it's a tough industry to break into. It's kind of a situation where it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah. Did you watch Jerry Maguire and get inspired? Well, why did you want to be an agent?
Well, I just always wanted to be involved in sports, whether I could, obviously as a little kid, you want to grow up and be a stud athlete.
Sure.
And play, but sports, it's my hobby and it's my job, and always wanted to still be involved in the industry in one capacity. And fortunately, I am now.
I would love to watch you negotiate. I think you'd be the greatest negotiator. This guy sucks.
Just tell you what, I'd be having freaking baseball and be playing right now if I was in charge of things.
Have you been following what's going on? No, this is airing. We're recording this on the weekend, so some things may change. This is going to be up, for you guys to listen to on Monday. Maybe things will change, but as of right now, and I've been following it just sort of vaguely because the more I follow it, the more angry I get following it.
Exactly.
So it just makes me annoyed and tilted, and I'm just like, when there's actual news, let me know. But it's billionaires arguing with billionaires, and I lean to one side being more at fault, but I won't lead you. But you tell me, what's your take right now from what you?
Well, they're both wrong. They're both wrong. I mean, I think it's convenient to, blame the owners. It's the billionaires. Even though a lot of them, it's not necessarily fair because it's not like they have $1 billion just sitting in cash. I mean, it's still, they're not right by no means. I'm not going to defend them, but I think at the same time, players, it's just a situation where if there's ever a time to really capitalize and grow the sport and, give the people what some people need, myself included, it's now, and they just still can't, get over, an agreement that they already made. They can't figure out what they actually meant by that. So it's just stupid. It really, really pisses me off. Definitely something I'm not happy about.
The owners keep making the same offer in different packages, though. So it's just like, okay, you don't want to play 50 games and get 100% of your pay. How about you play 70 games? We'll pay you 70%. So we're playing 20 more games and getting paid essentially the same amount. Like the owners not think the players have calculators. Just sort of weird. The whole thing is a mess. And you're talking about the people need it. And, again, nobody's going to give them sympathy in the current climate in this country right now. It's like these are the last people, but of course, some of them still want to play, and the owners really, really hard to be sympathetic for billionaire owners, obviously. If you get a loss for 1 year, maybe that's worth investing in, I don't know, turning off an entire fan base for the next infinite amount of years. It's such a short-sighted thought. But, again, it's just weird, man. It's just terrible timing. And like the window might have already closed, because by the time they finally sign something, you can't just say, okay, we're going to play tomorrow. They got to ramp everything back up. And then in theory, basketball's around the corner, hockey's around the corner, football's around the corner. And then all of a sudden we don't care about baseball anyway, even if you come back. So
yeah, and it would have been perfect. It could have been on July 4th, opening day. I'm not perfect, but in these circumstances, perfect. And
yeah,
just a huge missed opportunity, very disappointing. But what can you do?
Is this the year for the Halos? Your boy Joe Adele's probably coming up. Are you excited about Adele? I'm sure reading about him.
Definitely. I think he still probably could have used a little bit more time, but no minor leagues now. That's another thing I think could really just wreck the future of some of these kids and prospects and whatnot. Not even getting a chance to get C-Live pitching. But I don't know, I'm always high on the Halos, but it's always one of those situations where they got to get hot the right time. And, they always say, oh, well, pitching sucks. Well, Artie isn't afraid to make that move. He just wants the team to be healthy, and they rarely are in contention by the time midway through the season. So it's if they could get that going, hopefully under Madden, I'm a big fan of him. Things are doing all right. I was kind of hoping they signed Cole, but understand why. And I'm glad they were able to get a huge bat and Rendon.
Isn't Cole, was he from the West Coast? Is he a California guy?
Yeah, he was Anaheim to Orange Lutheran.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I guess the Yankees have a certain allure too, and I don't know what Moreno, like you said, he's always willing to open up the pocketbook. I don't know if it was a money thing or not, but is that the two teams it came down to?
I don't really know. I think there might have been a third, but they're definitely interested. It's just I think it was the hang up on the amount of years guaranteed. But obviously the Yankees, I think their offer blew everyone away.
Hey, is Garrett Cole the guy? Is Garrett Cole and Trevor Bauer like former teammates that did not get along? Is that a thing?
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know anyone that gets along with Trevor Bauer. He's a dickhead, but they both went to UCLA.
That's what it is. Okay.
All I know.
Yeah. So, I always thought I think Bauer, stay with me in this one. I know he's blocked you on Twitter. He's blocked a lot of people on Twitter. He probably said something. He's got the quick Twitter block for sure. But he's been great. Like during the stuff he's been saying during, what's going on now. Like he's been an interesting voice. At least I think so from my perspective. Don't get mad at me.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't care about what he does off the field. I just think the way he goes about things is contrary to what most people in baseball do. He's obviously figured it out, but bouncing around early in his career as much as he did is no coincidence. He certainly burned some bridges along the way.
By the way, you mentioned the minor leaguers. Those are the guys I feel really bad for. Like those are the ones who have my sympathy. Those guys make nothing when they're playing. A lot of them, like certainly some of them sign for a big contract or a big signing bonus and all that. But a lot of those guys are making nothing, and they're staying in like foster families essentially, like just adopting them, like, let them hang out in a spare room or something like that. And those are the ushers and the people that work, the parking. And those are the ones that I'm most concerned with. The players will be fine. The owners will be fine, no matter what happens. Hopefully we have our baseball back soon. I'll jump off my soapbox. But DFS. When did you discover DFS? Of course, you're an old school DFS guy. It's probably like how far back you go. I think you're 2012, somewhere in that area.
Something like that. It's pretty much from the beginning. It was I don't know how I discovered it. I came across Draft Street. I think it was maybe 2011.
Yeah.
It was middle of summer. It was the middle of the summer. It was like early on in the year. It was right after the semester ended. There was something called like a pre-session where you could hammer out a class in like a month. So I stayed there, and I was just in Tucson. Not much to do in the middle of summer, Tucson. Came across, played on Draft Street first night. I put like $10 in and won my first GPP, and really haven't looked back since.
So you were like me. You were kind of. I mean, you were a student. You were broke at the time, more or less.
Yeah.
I just got a little bit later in life, but I was also pretty broke at the time too, and I made a deposit of like $100 or something like that. But yeah, so your very first night, beginner's luck. Did you go by BBP? Like, what is 2012 Boggs? Like, how do you build a team in baseball back then? You probably weren't.
Well, I still look at BBP, and you can debate me about that any day of the
I'm not going to debate you.
It was hot streaks, BBP, and I still watch baseball, so that's where I think I had a lot of my edge early on before a lot of these advanced metrics started coming out. It's just really watching and knowing these guys. But yeah, that was pretty much the extent. I don't even really remember if I was looking at weather back in the day that time.
Well, the marine layer you had to factor. You're like the master. Kevin Roth, of course, chief meteorologist here at RotoGrinders. But if anybody knows about the marine layer or speaks to it when it comes from a baseball perspective, that's you.
Yep, and Santa Ana winds. It's the opposite. We just got done with Santa Ana winds. It was like 90, 93, 94 degrees. It was pretty hot and miserable. But the marine layer's back. It's called June gloom out here in California.
What's describe the marine layer? Like we're joking about it, and some people know what we're talking about, some people don't. But how does that affect baseball sometimes out there on the West Coast?
Well, it's just this low cloud. So you're closer to the ocean up until about noon, almost every day around this time of year. It's cloudy. There's a marine layer, and that travels inland towards where these baseball stadiums are. And it, by the later innings, once the nightfall comes in these stadiums, like Dodger Stadium, Angel Stadium, Petco Park is another one. It affects how far the ball travels. That's why they're regarded as pitchers' parks. But during the daytime, when there's offshore winds blowing, that's when those ballparks turn into extreme hitters' parks. And it kind of shows when you watch some of these games.
Hey, so Angels, do you believe in the Jared Weaver like rock pile hide the ball theory? Was that a thing? The rock pile, of course, in Angel Stadium, like where his arm angle. You think that's a thing?
Well, it could have for him because he was like 6'10".
He's a big guy, tall guy.
But I don't really think it, because he always had deceptive delivery. That's why he was able to get away with throwing 90. Or when he was early in his career. Obviously, when he was towards later stages of his career, he was only barely hitting 80. But it was the deception, his delivery, in conjunction with him being 6'10", that really made his 90-mile-per-hour fastball like a 95. And when he had command of that, he was able to use his off-speed pitches really well, especially his changeup. But that's when he lost his command. That's when things really kind of turned south for him.
You're like, 15 minutes down the road from the Angels ballpark, more or less?
Well, with traffic, it takes me an hour.
Yeah.
But I'd say like 15 miles away.
How often, during the regular season, everything's normal? How many games you go to a year?
Probably like 10.
Yeah.
15.
Other ballparks you've hit up?
Oh, yeah. My dad and I used to go every year. We'd go try and find a new one. But my favorite still to this day is AT&T or whatever it's called now in San Francisco. Yeah. That's just an awesome place to watch baseball.
Yeah. What would your favorite moment at the game? Like your favorite, it doesn't have to be baseball, any sport, but your favorite, like I'm at the game, I'm watching something that's like the most memorable moment you've ever seen live.
Probably when I caught a foul ball. No, I can't really think of one. I mean, I've been to Ducks games and playoff games, and those are always exciting. Angels playoff games, but probably the World Series when I got to go to one of the games, not into Game 7, but I think it was Game 4 or 5. Tim Salmon hit a home run, and I was up in the club level, and the stadium was rocking, shaking. Yeah,
How old must you have been when Tim
incredible
Salmon had
experience.
homer? You must have been like 7 or something.
No, I was in I was in middle school.
Really? Oh.
Maybe
In
13,
my head, for some
14.
reason, you played like late 90s, early like aughts, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah.
Was not a big fan of Tim Salmon. I hated how he played in right field. He'd just go for that sliding catch, never catch it.
I just like that Salmon and Trout play for the same team. Like you guys have this fish thing going for y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you didn't bring your glove, right? You weren't one of those guys that brought your glove to the game. You caught it with your hand, I would assume.
Yeah, it's on Twitter. I'm sure you have. I can't believe you don't remember that.
Maybe I missed this. Yeah,
it was a big deal to me because I'm one of those people. If you go to watch a game at Angel Stadium or really any of these ballparks in the West Coast, the fans don't catch foul balls and they don't get booed when they don't catch it. And so I'm always the one that says catch it. And finally, and it was a weird circumstance. I'm standing right behind home plate, and Pujols is up, and he fouls the ball back off the catcher's helmet over the protective screening, and it's just coming right for me. And I stood up. I still had a beer in my hand and just stuck it. And my hand still hurts to this day because that ball was spinning so fast because it just ricocheted off the catcher's helmet. But that was a memorable experience.
You didn't spill any of your beer, though, I hope.
No. Still a drop.
Well, at a given game, what's the over-under number of beers you knock out? I'm going to set the over-under at 3.5. Is that a reasonable number? Is that a bad line?
It depends. It depends where I'm sitting, because if you're sitting in the Diamond Club right behind home plate where my buddy has season tickets, you can just walk right up. There's no lines. You just walk right in. There's a bar in there and put your tab down, and you just, the bartenders really well and tip them good. So you just go up and you flash 2 and they'll pour 2 for you right there. So I definitely may have been overserved a couple of times sitting in that section, but where if I go to the game with my dad, we just buy the cheapest tickets possible, and we kind of do the standing room only over behind home plate. But 3.5 might be conservative. It really just depends on how bad the Angels are losing, I guess.
Fair enough. There's a correlation for sure. And of course, you're doing this responsibly as well. So the inspiration of your name, Boggslite, this is because of Wade Boggs and his drinking tendencies. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, I was just I came across a silly blog a long time ago about how Wade Boggs once drank 64 beers on a cross-country flight. And I liked Miller Lite, so I just kind of stuck with it. And now everyone knows me as Boggs.
Yeah, it's a legend. Like, I've seen so many different numbers. You said 64. I've seen 80 thrown out there. Nobody knows the official number. I believe there was it Always Sunny? It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode based off this. Are you aware of this?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. And the other thing I know about Wade Boggs is like his pregame ritual. He would have chicken, I think, every single day. Wasn't that his thing? Yeah.
He was a very superstitious dude. Not really. There was a favorite, pair of socks or whatever that wear or something, but a wristband, but nothing that crazy.
Let's jump back to DFS. You won your first night ever playing Draft Street, and you're like, "Oh, this is easy. I'm going to win every night." And now just out of curiosity, you said you won a GPP. What was that like in like 2012, 2011? Like
it was $5, and I think I won 200.
There you go, man.
Stoked.
You got a bankroll. Let's have some fun. Eventually, I presume you learn about FanDuel and DraftKings as well too. At what point, or I guess you keep playing and you're hammering out night after night? When do you realize, like, hey, I'm pretty good at this, and I'm going to take it more seriously, and hey, maybe I'm going to start doing this for a living?
It was pretty much right after college when I'd been playing and having success in the sports. Hockey, baseball, football, those are my bread and butter. And it was kind of during the middle of the recession, so to speak. So job market wasn't great, and I was having fun doing this, and I just kept winning. And then, ultimately, Dan reached out, wanted to see if I wanted to do a show about hockey, and said, why not? And here I am today doing a podcast with you. Yeah.
You guys, you back in, was it Pepsi right away? Was it
Pepsi and Warren?
Yeah, that's who you're doing hockey shows with back in the day for sure. Yeah, he used to call you the California Kid. What was the inspiration of that? He just kind of made it up on the fly. What was that?
That was all him. I used to host the shows, which was crazy. I'm terrible, and I would spend hours just kind of like writing a script, so to speak, just because I'm not good on my feet. Yeah, it's crazy how things have changed over the years.
Yeah.
Doing Google Hangouts.
We got Devin in our ear. Like we had no producer back in the day.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, it was tough. We had to produce our own shows. We actually had to hit play and stop and frame our cameras and all that and get our sound right. It probably looks terrible. I assume it's available somewhere on YouTube. We want to flag this down.
I'm sure it is. I haven't gone back and watched them, but yeah, they're poor production quality. So we'll leave it at that.
But the content, I'm sure your picks were fire back in the day, I presume. So your first, take me through your first like legit big hit, like at $200, $500, that's great. But when you win, I don't know, 20K or 30K or 50K, what's your first big hit you can remember? What was that sweat like?
I don't know. I guess it's all relative. What you think was big,
Yeah.
Those back in the day, the hockey tournaments were like 2000. You win a couple of those because the players, the size of the tournaments weren't that big. But my biggest win is definitely in baseball. That's probably where actually I know it's all most of my income comes from. So it's definitely baseball. 100K first. I think went on a really good run a couple of years ago. I think I won 2 or 3 of those tournaments, and it's an awesome feeling.
Yeah. Do you remember anything specific about those? Do you sweat them out? Are you one of those people that looks at you're currently winning, or you just kind of like set it, forget it, and you check back in 6 hours and say, have that one like 3-second sweat where you're just the time it takes to fire up the app? It's like, oh wow, currently winning $110,000. Or are you always on top?
I definitely torture myself by sweating out games. I'm not here on the West Coast, so it's not like I'm staying up till 1 a.m. We're usually about 10:30 when these games are over. So definitely sweat out, watch the games, try and watch as many as I can, because then you can see how these players are, if they look comfortable at the plate. So I like to watch as many games as I can, but I definitely focus on the teams that I have in the running, and definitely I don't like sweating out when I'm hoping for nothing to happen. Those are the worst type of sweats. But hoping your cheap punt play, late night hits a bomb in Oakland is what it's all about. Especially when it comes to putting yourself in contention or winning a big tournament. That's definitely fun. It's part of the experience for me.
What's the balance of sweating that out, or even just like kind of checking at your lineups on a nightly basis, so often, and having a social life and not having your significant other just like saying, stop looking at your phone every 5 seconds? Is that a thing?
Well, Lauren definitely, she watches more baseball than the average person.
Okay.
But, it's for me, there comes a day where I take 1 day a week off in the season. It's Sunday, or I won't watch a single pitch of baseball unless the Angels are on Sunday Night Baseball or something. And I think that kind of helps you, me at least, just kind of take a breath and
like recharge the batteries, get ready for next week, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're engaged, right?
I am.
Yeah. Congratulations. Lauren's delightful, by the way. Not that you need my endorsement, but 2 thumbs up. She's delightful.
Well, I tell you what, I'm not. She's completely taken over my office here, turned into a spin studio. I don't know if you can see it. That's been the worst part about quarantine.
Yeah, so this is an audio podcast, but we're also showing them on YouTube as well. And Boggs is taking us behind the scenes here. If you want to take a look at a spin studio behind his. You mean you're actually? I thought for certain you were actually on the beach. So that's all an illusion. That picture behind you.
Yeah, I guess I can't claim that anymore. That's in my backyard, but
I thought you said Lauren's taking over. I thought Sadie, your dog, was taking over. Sadie's not taking over as well.
She's definitely happy that Lauren's home, but she's my helper when I'm working all day. She lays down, nice, peaceful, quiet. It's Lauren's the one that riles her up, gets her all excited. But Sadie's been happy that everyone's home, but
Sadie's getting spoiled.
that baseball is not back.
Yeah, Sadie is getting extra attention, I presume, over these quarantine days.
Yeah.
And she's fully grown now, right? I was going through your Twitter, and I saw when she was a puppy, and now she's got to be, 3 or so, give or take?
Yep. She's probably 85 pounds.
Oh, wow.
She still acts like a puppy, though. She's a lap dog for sure. So if you're ever around her, you got to look out because she'll jump on you.
When you meet people, what do you tell them you do? Like they say, well, hey, what do you do for a living? What do you do? Like, how do you answer that?
It's actually really, really tough. And you think I would figure it out by now, but I think I give a different answer every single time. It's just kind of how the conversation's going. Whether or not I think this person knows enough about what I can do to be specific, or sometimes I'll just say I just do, fantasy football, baseball podcasts and be on your way. But it changes depending on the person I'm talking to. But I still don't really I just still don't really have a defined thing. I just tell people. What do you tell people?
Yeah, I usually say, have you heard of FanDuel or DraftKings? That's usually where I start with. Yeah, and they're like, okay, yeah, you work for them. I don't work for them. I work for a content site that helps, that kind of go from there. And like, okay, I think I kind of, and a lot of times I'll just like a nod and smile, and just because at some point they just give up and say, I kind of sort of know that's enough for me. I'll move on. But that's my lead. Like, if you're at a FanDuel or DraftKings, yeah, okay, I kind of do something sort of with that. Is that legal? Is that for real? Is that something that, like, I thought that was a scam? I'm sure you got that before too. It's like,
not really, but I could see people not believing it.
Yeah. So you win $100K, Box, right? You win $100K. Anything extravagant? Anything you splurge on, or that's not for you?
Not really. I was actually surprised that you had me on this podcast. I'm like the most boring person. I can't remember the last. Only shirt I buy is if I'm on vacation or something. I don't really shop much. I drive a Camry. Doesn't get much mileage. I'm just here at home, so I don't really spend much things except things around the house. Go to Home Depot. But I think probably the most expensive thing I bought was a jacuzzi.
There you go.
I think is essential.
I don't have a jacuzzi, but that sounds nice. That's especially out there. I guess you have a backyard of some sort.
Yeah.
There you go. Sweet. Like players' jerseys. Sometimes people buy a player's jersey. I don't buy jerseys. It's just not for. I don't know. I feel like I'm too old to buy a jersey. Was it Jay-Z or somebody said like you shouldn't, once you're past the age of the person, the jersey you're wearing, you shouldn't be wearing them, I guess. I don't know. There's some sort of theory out there, but it's just not for me. I don't know. It's not that I'm against it. That's what you want to do. Have at it. Enjoy yourself. But I don't know. I don't want to wear a jersey. It doesn't sound like you want to either.
No, I don't wear. I don't wear jersey to baseball. I wear a jersey to a hockey game.
Yeah. Okay.
But and then football. Haven't been to a game in years, but maybe I don't wear them for football. I'm not really sure. But I usually just wear a shirt with angels on it.
Yeah, that works. Easy enough. So we had somebody on recently talking about a really bad beat, and I always think whenever someone mentions DFS bad beats, and this is maybe like one of the reasons why you popped in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, nobody's got a worse bad beat than Boggs, and we always remember the photo finishes we lose, and the one we kind of win, we kind of sort of forget. It's like, yeah, I won that one. No, let's forget the details. I got lucky in the ninth inning. Who cares? I won it. Big old W. But I think you tell me or walk me through this. I think you have the worst bad beat story that I can remember. One of them. Manny Laura's got another one as well too. I've heard his bad beat story is pretty terrible. But football, I think, was it for $1 million? Walk me through it.
It was to go to the live final. When I think it was like the first year that FanDuel had $1 million top prize. No guarantee I would have won it, but it was pretty rough. I'm sure you remember. You could tell it better than I can.
Well, all I know, the only details I know is I believe you were ahead. You were in first place, and of course,
it was back when Monday Night Football was a part of the slate.
Yes,
and I had a Breeze and Jimmy Graham stack in a qualifier, and they were just going off. It was an awesome game Monday night. In the the Superdome.
Dome was rocking.
And so they were just going off. And all I needed came down to the fourth quarter, and they're on the last possession, and I just needed one more catch from Jimmy Graham, and Breeze hit him for like a 3-yard gain or something, and then that gave them the first down, and the game was essentially over. They were going to ice the clock. And then, I remember hopping on RotoGrinders, and I don't know if I was doing a sweat show or if I was just in the chat, and everyone's like congratulating me. And then I started thinking, I was like, well, wait a second. Breeze is going to take a kneel. And when Breeze kneels, at the end of the game, he takes like 4 yards back. And I'm like, does that mean I get negative points for the negative rushing yards? And sure as shit, I see negative, and I'm thinking, I'm like, who's going to do it 2 more times now? Like, this is not good. And then it was funny to see the chat that day kind of take a turn for the verse. They were like, oh no. And as I kept going down and down, I ended up losing by like 0.01 points or something. It was ridiculous.
And the thing is, it's not like it was first or second in the tournament. Instead of winning like 50K, you won 30K. This is a qualifier, whereas essentially it's all or nothing, more or less. Like second place, you might have got like the home version of the game, like $20 or something like that. But yeah, you get the qualifying seat, and second, you basically get like $100 of your buyback back, and that's brutal. Of course, you did qualify. You've been to multiple live finals. Do you have any sort of live final event that stands out in your mind, or just sort of like meeting people, or any sort of like anecdote?
Not really, because I've generally been terrible in all of them. I had a pretty good.
You're not clutch, Boggs.
When the DraftKings in Denver was my best finish, I think I finished like 7th or 8th. But yeah, the live finals, they're awesome. But it's really good, tough competition, and it's just one of those things where not get lucky, but put yourself in a good position to get lucky, and the players got to come through for you on that particular day.
Yeah. It's it's all small sample size. If it doesn't go well, it's a sample size of 1, man. We play this out 1,000 times. I'm taking it down for sure. But I guess, well, you've been to all the sports, or baseball, everything but basketball, probably, as far as live finals, right?
Yeah, and no football either.
No, okay, yeah, the one, yeah. I'm just calling back this terrible story. You would have been, in theory, if it was a stat correction of 0.001 or whatever that was. Some of your favorites, Boggs. Favorite athlete of all time.
I didn't really think of this.
Maybe one as a kid, was an adult.
I probably Wayne Gretzky. I don't think anyone, everyone always says, Jordan or some football, that I really think it's hard for anyone to disagree that no one single-handedly dominated his own sport like Wayne Gretzky did. And sure, you can say it was a different era, whatnot, but yeah, he's probably there up at the top.
What would he do in today's era? I don't know. I feel like he was kind of skinny, wasn't he?
Yeah, but it was still an era where, well, first of all, he had Marty McSorley on his line, who was probably one of the bigger badasses in the game.
He was a guru,
protecting
right?
him. Yeah, but at the same time, I don't know what he would do in this game, because he was ahead of the time. But I think the intangibles, like his anticipation, he would still be able, be one of the best. That was definitely one of his, best traits, was just anticipating the play. He wasn't necessarily the fastest or the strongest guy, but his anticipation was probably his biggest attribute.
Who's your favorite Angel of all time?
Well, I mean, can I say Trout?
Yeah, sure. But, 80% of your tweets are just Trout missile.
Former players, I really like Torrey Hunter. Yeah, he was definitely.
I like Hunter too. Who's your favorite umpire of all time?
I don't have a favorite umpire, Dean. You know this. They all tie for last place, and there's only one I respect.
Who's your least favorite umpire of all time?
They're all tied for first.
It's not Joe West.
He's definitely up there. Cowboy Joe, Angel Hernandez. These guys are just awful.
So there was a tweet. I went through your Twitter again. Somebody said, quote this tweet with the 5 things you'd want to immediately fix if you were named the MLB commissioner. Now, this is a couple years ago, to be fair. The first thing you said was fire every umpire and then fire their replacements. So you want to reinstate Pete Rose. You want to forget Pete Rose. Give me the sales pitch.
I don't think he bet on his own team, or against his own team, and if you're betting for your team, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Obviously, it is a big deal. Obviously, he made a mistake, but he's one of the greatest baseball players of all time, and certainly someone any kid would want to model his game after the way he played. I just think he played the game with so much respect that what he did as a manager later in his career, I just don't think it's fair that he's not reinstated. I think he's done it, served his time, and it's kind of sad. I've seen him in Vegas one time.
He's signing autographs like in the forum shops, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just that's what he's doing these days. That's what he has been doing. I don't know if he's doing it these days. I don't know if the forum shops are even open, but yeah, I think he's in like in a baseball card shop, like memorabilia store, just signing autographs like so many days a week. That's the last I've heard of him.
Yeah, I saw him in the sports book one time, and I got kind of starstruck. My dad. I walked by him, and I look at my dad and do a double take. I'm like, "Is that Pete Rose?" And he's like, "Yeah." I got too afraid to go up and talk to him because I didn't want to bug him. Everyone every day I was asking for autographs, and I think he tells him, "Give me some money or something." But he was just sitting there, enjoying, just watching baseball in the sports book. I didn't want to bother that, so I let him be.
He was sweating out his tickets. He bet something.
Claims he doesn't, but who knows?
Yeah. I mean, you could argue when he wasn't betting on his team, he was essentially betting against his team. And you can argue he was playing pitchers, putting guys in the bullpen when he made decisions based upon. But yeah, I would say this in your defense, and like we're not going to get into it, like it's your opinion. But like there are plenty of dirtbags in the MLB Hall of Fame. We can say that, right? Like there's definitely, you can certainly go through if we're going to go based on character. There are some guys where you're like, yeah.
Ty Cobb.
Pretty sure Ty Cobb's in the Hall of Fame. Pretty sure
he's still the greatest hitter, but yeah, he was a real piece of work.
Yeah. Pete Rose, what do you think? What do you think Pete Rose would have thought of like things like launch angle? Because like he's not a launch angle player. Like what would you think he would have done in 2020?
I don't know. He's just scrappy. I don't think he would really care much. He was never a really big home run hitter anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone ever hustled more than him. So that was just his game. Play harder than you.
There's a guy, a guy like Ichiro. Supposedly Ichiro just destroyed batting practice. He can bang out homers whenever he wanted.
Yeah, but that's a little bit different. I think Ichiro is a bit of a selfish player, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay. This is an interesting take.
I went to the home run derby when it was the Angel Stadium. I forget what year it was when they had the All-Star game there. And all the players got to take BP before it, and they were all just hitting bombs. The only person that hit the farthest and every time a home run was Ichiro. Farthest home runs.
Wow.
And then he gets in the game and he just, hit these little slap singles. So
that's selfish to get a slap single?
Well, did he ever win a World Series?
Well, it's a team effort,
I understand, but I don't know. I can't get on board with it. I just didn't like that. You're launching balls, and you can't even try a little bit harder in the game to hit a home run. It's just all about the single. I think he was more concerned.
Well, he was more about like knock me in,
average.
Yeah.
But he had the power. There's a difference between not having the power.
It is interesting. I would have loved to have seen him like take a season and just say, I'm just going to bang on a bunch of homers and just see how that plays out.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm curious how it would have worked. He was on a team with A-Rod and Randy Johnson, I believe, like in the late 90s, early 2000s. Is that right? Does that sound correct? Or am I making that up?
With the Yankees?
No, the Mariners. Wasn't he with Mariners and A-Rod and Randy Johnson? Wasn't he on the?
That's tough because it was that kind of I think it was like right after.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I think Griffey might have still been there. I'm not quite sure about
A-Rod. A Red just yet. Yeah, I'm forgetting, but I know that the Mariners did make a run. I think in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Where they had
definitely once Randy Johnson could locate his pitches, he became
not hitting those
force
birds
to be reckoned with. Yeah.
Yeah, Randy Johnson was amazing. Yeah, I've just got the flashback. I remember Randy Johnson versus John Crook in the All-Star game. I assume you saw that. Yeah, John Crook seems like the kind of guy you'd enjoy watching.
Yeah, he's funny. I tell you what, though, I do the same thing. I was a left-handed batter. I wouldn't be able to touch Randy Johnson. I would be afraid for my life.
Just struck me out. I mean, I was a lefty as well too, and I hated facing left-handers. I didn't play baseball in college, but just the same sort of premise of like lefty. It's sort of this weird thing, Boggs. Like when I make DFS lineups, and I know it's so dumb, Like, and it really has nothing to do with me. But like in my head, I'm like, man, I hate it against lefties. I can't roster a lefty against a lefty. And of course, it's just such a stupid thing because also that pitcher's not going to pitch the entire game. And I'm burying the lead. These are professional hitters. I was just some schmuck with a bat in my hand at 15 years old. That whatever. But yeah, that's one of those things I finally like. Okay, I can play a lefty versus lefties in tournaments. Like that's okay to embrace. For baseball, embrace the variance. Let's give a little baseball advice out. Sure, you would agree with that, I assume, when making baseball DFS lineups.
To some degree. I mean, I usually watch these guys and watch their hacks against left-handed pitchers, and some, it's pretty evident that I wouldn't really want to roster this guy against a lefty. Same can be said for righties, but yeah, it's a little bit.
Have the Dodgers finally figured out that there's at least they actually have a contract? In theory, when the Dodgers play baseball, can you watch Dodger baseball now out there in the West Coast?
I think they just allowed it on DirecTV, and I just canceled DirecTV. So it was a long road for nothing.
Unbelievable.
And then of course I got YouTube TV, the streaming now.
How's that?
I like it. I've never had reliable internet, especially Wi-Fi, but once I upgraded that and got that to a place where I'm comfortable with, it saves me money. I mean, DirecTV, we're going to go out of business here soon, but that's a bad company. But of course, the day I signed the contract, or not a contract for YouTube TV, but the day I purchased it, they dropped the Angels. So I got to figure something out because
you got to buy the MLB package, and then I think what is it called, like a VPN, where you can change where your location.
And I was never like doing that because I was like just sitting down, turning on my TV and watching a game. I've got a huge TV. I don't like watching it from my iPad or on my computer or anything like that. But I'm gonna have to figure something out.
You can get the apps on your TV, assuming you have a smart TV.
Yeah, and I might sign up for a different app, but
yeah. I hated that too. Just like traveling around different cities I've lived in, they have these stupid rules where you're like 400 miles away from the stadium. Like, how am I blocked out of Cincinnati living in South Carolina? Like, I can't watch the Reds, and like they want me. Wow, it's just so silly. Like, wouldn't you want people watching the game? I understand you don't want anybody, like, you want to support the cable, you have deals with and all that, but I'm trying to buy the package.
The worst part was I couldn't watch it unless I signed up specifically for Time Warner Cable. That was what was criminal in my opinion. But it's they should relax some of those rules, because it's like you said, you're just trying to watch the game.
Boggs, I was going through some of your tweets, and I'm not sure if this was like a one-time occurrence. You make 150 lineups by hand sometimes?
Yeah.
What's that like?
I mean, it can get grueling. I usually kind of like, if there's a big tournament, I'll make around 100. And I usually only use the optimizers if I'm running out of time. But I've just never been able to get the optimizer to do exactly what I want. And I know people, and people certainly can, and some people don't mind, but it's one of those things where it bothers me, and I enjoy making the lineups as well. So that's kind of the fun in it for me, that mental puzzle. But no disrespect to people that do use the optimizers. And obviously RotoGrinders, they're making some big changes, or have made some big changes, and I'm probably going to try and dive in this year at some point, but I kind of procrastinate, and when it comes down to getting prep done for an upcoming season, often there's overlap. But this might be a year where I tinker with it a little bit and see, because it would save me so much time.
You mentioned YouTube TV. Does that mean you cut the cord and you're just watching things like Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu and that kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah, for the most part. Yeah, it was just, I had the DirecTV with all the packages, and it just wasn't worth it, especially now. I mean, there's not even any shows on or anything, nothing really new coming out. So I thought it was a good time to cut the cord, and I guess, so to speak. And yeah, I've been happy with it so far. As long as my internet can stay reliable, because I never liked the streaming because I didn't have reliable internet. And there's nothing worse when you're trying to watch a baseball game and you see some spooling going around.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I always, the one that tilts me is I watch a lot on the laptop as well too. I kind of put the quad box up, and a lot of times I have a side screen and a side monitor, and I'm watching 4 or 5 games at once, with the main TV. But the problem is, and again, world's smallest file in for this, is like I'm also on Twitter, and you already see like the RG Twitter account tweeting out who homered, and like it's like a 30-second like a delay, and it's just kind of like, again, these are really small complaints. There's a lot bigger issues going on. But I want to watch the home run live. That's exciting. And it's like, oh, well, yeah, home run. Yeah, there it is. 20 seconds later, the next pitch. Did you do this?
Sorry if I ruined that for Trout with you.
You definitely did.
There's been a few times where I've had Trout missile just dialed up and ready, and I could just tell right when he swung, the ball's, gone.
Just click send. It's not even over the fence yet, and you've already sent out the tweet.
No, I don't do that. I think that would jinx it.
Are jinxes real?
No, but
but hot streaks are real. You said hot streaks are real?
I think so, to some degree. It's all comes down to confidence. That's why BVP, I think, is something you can look at. I just know as former player that there were guys I've faced, many times, and I had their number. There are also guys that, I knew when I got there that this is probably not going to end well. So it was just it's just the mental confidence type aspect. I certainly don't rely on it, as I'm sure you know, but it's something that I think it matters to me.
Yeah, I mean, look, if there's 10 things you look at, it could be one of the 10 things you look at, but like,
absolutely,
it's in your toolbox, I suppose. And I like to go next level on it when I have time. Of course, time is a huge commodity when making DFS lineups, when doing DFS research. But I like to look at it and say, well, wait a second, this guy is 3 for 25 against him. That doesn't make any sense. And I like to dig in and see, well, what was his xWOBA? What's his X velocity? And maybe he's been unlucky. He's hitting the ball at an average 97 miles an hour off him. He still only has 3 hits and 25 at bats. If he's hitting a line driver to a third baseman or like 400-foot outs, okay, I'll take my chances. And that's next level stuff. And still, those samples aren't necessarily huge, but that makes you feel better as opposed to just seeing 3 for 25. Can't roster this guy. I don't know. Yeah. Do you look at that stuff as well too, or again, there's only so much time you have as far as
it's there, and it's I don't really dwell on it or go back and try and analyze it, but it's my opinion, and you can tell me, all these people can tell me that it doesn't matter, but I suited up, I played the game at a high level, and I know that it does. So there you go.
If you want to name names, say suck it, Cardi. By all means.
No, I'm not going to rip on Cardi. I'm not too talented at evaluating pitchers, and so he's definitely someone that I use for my research for that in that regard.
To me, I think what those guys do, and I'm somewhere in the middle in this, by the way. I'm just trying to be an agitator just for fun, no particular reason. Just kind of taking the other side. But I think a lot of these guys will concede that you are right. 100%. It's true that some players have an edge for some pitchers and vice versa. Some pitchers can lock down certain players. I think the point they're making is the samples are so small, we don't know which is which. We don't know which player versus which batter is real and which is like just sort of a small sample case. I think that's the case they make.
Yeah.
Does that sound familiar to you?
Sure, but I can tell you, when Paul Goldschmidt was going up against Lincecum, he was dialed in at the plate. And by the same regard, if Adrian Belche was going Against Ari Dickey, he could never hit a knuckleball. The worst at bats I've ever seen.
Well, knuckleball is super specific, but yeah, that's definitely one that for sure is a thing. But I think Mike Redmond used to beat up on Tom Glavine, which is just sort of a random one. It's like, why would that happen? But that's just sort of how that stuff goes. I was curious. I was asking about TV and about Netflix and about Hulu. What does Boggs watch? What's on the DVR? Is there any TV shows you binge watch? Favorite shows of all time?
I mean, all time. I liked The Office. I got into The Sopranos, but that was more just binge watching it. Not when it was going on. It was just during college. My buddy got me onto that, and that's the best show of all time, in my opinion. But yeah, just nothing too specific. I mean, obviously, there isn't shit out, really these days. I watch Shark Tank, but like I said, I'm pretty boring.
Give me your favorite 3 Office cast members.
Like Dwight, Stanley.
Stanley's great, yeah.
And Creed.
Creed. There you go. I like it. It's pretty solid. And did you stop watching it? Like everybody says, stop watching it when Michael leaves. It still has its moments. It's not the same, obviously, but
yeah, it definitely took a turn for the worst, but I still watched it.
Yeah. Well, you know, what do you want? They gave you like 7 good seasons with Michael, I believe. What did it go? 9 total, more or less. Well, there's enough on there. You can fire it up anytime you want, I suppose. Your favorite? What kind of music does Boggs listen to? You go to concerts, listen to music?
Yeah, I've been getting into country over the years, but I've always been a huge classic rock fan.
Favorite classic rock band?
There's a lot. Really kind of depends.
Do you like lineup building music you like to play?
No, I'm in complete silence when I make lineups.
Really?
Yeah.
You like silence?
Yeah. I don't like distractions, but I like Led Zeppelin. The Eagles are up there. I'm also a huge Jimmy Buffett fan.
Okay.
So I don't know what genre that is, but
it's kind of I was gonna say country. It's not country-ish. So
he was a failed country music artist, so it's got some elements in there.
He's like his own genre. Jimmy Buffett feels like he's just his own.
Too.
I wouldn't know how to describe him. So you like your Miller Lights, you like your Boglights. What do you think of this the upstart of Trulies and White Claws? Well, this is not for you, right?
No, I won't have one.
You won't even try it.
Those things, yeah, no.
I know Grant Neefer was on this podcast. He was talking about how he likes his Trulies and his White Claws. You're not. I mean, it's just not. You won't even try.
I just see people like get drunk on those things, and they're stupid. I think something's in some chemicals in there that just mess with you. But no, I just like my beer. I have a margarita every now and again.
There you go.
But
call back to Jimmy Buffett. Yeah, wasn't that Jimmy Buffett? Yeah, Margaritaville, right? That was Buffett, was it not?
Yep.
Salted rim or no salted rim? You got to go salted rim, right?
No salt.
No salt. All right.
Rocks, no salt.
Rocks, no salt. Do you have a really terrible job? Like, what's the worst job you ever had?
No, I didn't really. I had a sales gig for a little while. It wasn't fun. Wasn't good at it.
What'd you sell or try to sell?
Small business services like accounting and whatnot. Wasn't very fun. It was one of my first jobs out of college, and really haven't had that many jobs.
Yeah.
So that's like one of those deals where, fortunately, when I was playing baseball, like my parents never made me get a summer job. And then even in college, I was fortunate, didn't really have to work, but yeah.
I appreciate your time, Boggs. Went about an hour or so. Don't want to keep you too long. Oh, I did want to get this in. So Boggs, whenever I have somebody coming on, I like to kind of throw it out to some people and say, hey, so-and-so is coming on the podcast. Do you have any questions, anything I should ask him specifically? And I actually got a response this time. This is a question from one Eric Crane. Any interest in cock tonight? Coke. I mean, Coke.
And you know what? We didn't talk about that on this show. I think you were the one that originally made that clip. You didn't even let me say no. You just left me hanging on that clip or gift, whatever.
That's one of the greatest moments in RotoGrinders history. And I'm saying that if people don't know that context, I don't know if we just sort of leave it out there. Crane said the wrong name and he mispronounced it. Was it like Billy Koch or Billy Coke, I think it was? Or
well, that was the closer. I think this was I think his name was Michael Coach or something like that. But
my favorite.
It was definitely fun. And he just so nonchalant, just asked it. It's like,
it's just wild. Yeah. So there you go. If for those that stuck around for the entire hour and listened to the entire podcast, there you go. I asked that one just for Crane specifically. Boggs, anything else you want to get out there and tell the people and let them know about your Twitter? Hey, I mean, if they want to learn about the trout missiles, where do they follow you?
Yeah, at Boggslite, but it's not going to be a phone account. I don't really tweet much, and for the people that did stick around, I'm sorry. I'm not that interesting.
By the way, Boggs, you were saying this is great. This is all going to come full circle. It just hit me. We talked about umpires and how you just like umpires so much. Your favorite umpire, at least tied for first, Country Joe West. He's a country singer. Have you heard him sing before? You like country music, so maybe this is where you
cares more about his country than he does his actual job, and he's terrible.
He is terrible. Boggs, I much appreciate your time. The people, you may say you are boring, but at least I found it was interesting. Well, ask Devin, the producer. He'll tell us in his ear. He'll be honest. He'll be blunt for sure. Thanks everybody out there for listening. Of course, later on in the week, we're going to have some golf content, some MMA content. We're going to, do some more DFS origin stories and things of that sort. It's going to be good times here in the morning grind. He was Boggs. I was Dean. Thanks for listening. We're out of here. Oh!